right, we're on.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the second part of our series on navigating the post-pandemic market. During our first session, we spoke a lot about the current market trends and gave an overview of some of the very important moving pieces that are involved with purchasing a home in today's market. Today, with the help of some local experts, we will be diving deeper into the home buying process. It is important for both potential buyers and sellers to know the ins and outs of the contract, as well as the steps needed to purchase, sell, and all the people involved. Today we're speaking from the buyer's perspective, but if you're a seller or a potential seller, this information will be helpful as well. I'm Jen Long, and I'll be presenting the realtor portion of this presentation. We also have Christine from US Bank to talk about the lending side and different programs for buyers. We have John from Win Home Inspection to talk about the home inspection process and why it's so important, even if you're buying as is. And then we have Haley, who will talk about title and the importance of title insurance and why you should have it. So let's get started. These days, when most people are looking for a home, the first step is they are on the internet. And they find a home that sparks their interest and they say, I think I do want to buy it. I'm tired of renting, or I need to upsize or downsize or whatever. But it comes from a lot of the pandemic boredom of scrolling through the internet and wanting to find something new. So once you find that house that really just calls to you, what do? You call your realtor. That's what you do. And what is your realtor going to say to you? I would love to show you that house. Are you pre-approved? So a pre-approval is your foot in the door when buying a home. With homes flying off the shelves so quickly, it is so necessary to have that ready to go. So when you put an offer, if you decided that that's the right home, it shows that you're ready and willing and able to buy. And that's very important for the seller. So we're going to turn to Christine now to learn a little more about the lender's role in a transaction and how they can help you get your dream home.
One of the first things you want to do is make sure that the lender you're going to be working with is going to run your approval through an automated decision engine. This is going to give you an actual solid approval that, backed with some of your documentation, is going to be what exactly realtors are looking for. And they're not going to hesitate to want to take you out to the house. Some of the things you want to collect and have ready for your lender, they're going to verify income. So they're going to be looking for you to have W-2s for the last 2 years, recent pay stubs for 30 days. As far as assets and funds to close, they're going to be looking for bank statements. You can get gifts, and there's other things that you can get for down payment. And that can all be documented, but the lender's going to need to know where those funds are basically coming from. They're going to pull your credit, and you want that to happen because you want to make sure that your scores are eligible for the program you're going to be applying for, and you're going to want to make sure your credit is checked. That credit report the lender pulls should be good for 120 days. So hopefully you're going to find a house to close in that time frame. Otherwise, after 120 days, that lender would have to re-pull your credit. So to give you some ideas on W-2s would be needed, and pay stubs for somebody who's salaried or hourly. If you are a self-employed individual, you're going to need 2 full years tax returns. Right now, if you don't have 2021s done, they're going to be looking for 2020 and 2019 tax returns. If you are part of an LLC and have K-1s, all that information is going to be needed. All the pages, have them ready. Just I always tell people, put a folder together or a big envelope that just says lender on it, and everything you think they're going to ask for, put in there. When you're, depending on what program you qualify for, there's a number of programs out there. Conventional loans, FHA, VA loans for veterans. Your lender can walk through what you're eligible for or what would best suit you and fit you for if you're planning on being in the home 3 to 5 years versus I'm never moving again type of situation. And that lender is going to help you decide what program is going to be best for you. Some of the down payment assistance programs that are out there right now, the Illinois Department of Housing Authority allows you to apply for down payment assistance. You do have to meet certain requirements for that. Credit score is big. It has to be 640 or above. Income limits on that program are 111,000 for most of the Keller counties. McHenry, all the ones that you're probably looking at right now. Other counties outside DeKalb, the income limits might be lower, but the lender can get into details with you on that. Purchase price is $332,235, so you can't exceed that to go IDA. There's other down payment assistance programs out there that are available to you through counties, municipalities, sometimes even employers have them. So it is something to look into when you're working with your lender. And they'll ask you where your down payment's coming from. And obviously that's going to be one thing they should be able to assist you with. One of the things I want to mention about what a lender is looking for in credit and in job history, you might have, and we're seeing a lot of this, which is why I'm bringing it up. 2020 was rough on a lot of people, so there might have been job gap situations. As long as you have a 2-year history of work, even if there's a job gap and you were out all of 2020, they just might ask you to explain that. So just be prepared that it doesn't mean you're not going to qualify, or it doesn't mean because you were out of work for a while, there was an issue. It just might have to be explained. No different than some items on your credit report. If there were some delinquencies or some derogatory items that appeared, you may just have to provide a letter of explanation. So that's just something to watch for. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get the loan or there's going to be an issue. It just means that it gives clarification to the underwriter who finally approves the loan. So once the lender has all that information and they run you through that automated decision engine, they're going to provide you with a letter. And that letter is going to be what you give the realtor. And so the realtor knows what you're qualified for. I always tell people apply for maximum. That letter can be tweaked when making an offer. So as long as you're coming down, there isn't an issue. Other than that, that's all I really have on being prepared.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Is there a range of credit that most lenders are looking for when it comes to pre-approval?
Yes, if you are, conventional lending is going to be best at 680 and above, especially when you're putting less than 20% down. If you go into government lending, that can be, there's kind of a broad range. Most banks and lenders are looking for anywhere from 620 and up for those types of programs.
I've noticed one thing in the market in the last year is that sellers really do look for the more conventional loans. And I know that those are more available to buyers because in the past they used to have to put like 20% down, right? And now you can put 5% down. But those loans do look better to sellers, I think, because it shows that you have some capital, your credit's higher. Because that's something you've noticed.
I have. I think FHA is a little more stringent on their appraisals, but FHA does allow you, if you're coming back from, say, a rough credit period, or say 5-6 years ago you had a foreclosure or a bankruptcy, FHA is probably going to be able to get you in that house quicker than a conventional.
Right.
So, and they have gotten a lot more lenient on their appraisals.
And all the loans are good. It's just a matter of, how they fit with you.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly what you need. And again, as long as you're using a lender, and preferably one on Heartland's list, that they're reliable, they're going to run you through an automated decision engine, you are solid. You're good to go.
So in a perfect world, you are prepared with your pre-approval. You've already called Christine, so your realtor will say, yes, let's go see this property. We've set up a showing and meet you at the property. So one thing I did want to talk about in this process is you might see 100 homes, you might see one home. No matter how many homes you see or whether people live there or they're vacant, it's very important to understand showing etiquettes. You have to remember that house, whether it's bank owned or the sellers are living there, it's owned by somebody else. That means you follow any COVID guidelines that have been set forth by the homeowner. You remove shoes or wear booties. You keep your kids wrangled. And unless it's absolutely necessary to touch something, like to open a door to see if that's where the water main is or something, you kind of just keep your hands to yourself. Especially with kids, I'm a stickler. I say, hands at your sides or hold your parent's hand, because we've all, as realtors, including myself, we've had some experiences where people wander off, or kids are, you find them jumping on somebody's bed, or something accidentally breaks, or a curtain gets pulled down or something. And, you just want to be so respectful of somebody else's home, especially when, you've got a group of people. It can be hard to, wrangle everybody, but you want to make sure that it's almost like you're in a museum. You want to be able to, experience the home, like, so that you know how it feels if it was your home, but while being respectful, knowing that it is somebody else's home. And, maybe they don't want you, going through their pantry or opening their medicine cabinet or something like that. Another thing to remember during showings is that, again, it's somebody's home, and it's very important to understand that people have security systems. They have cameras. So one thing I always tell my clients when we go into a home is we don't talk about money, and we don't talk negatively about the home while in it. Anything regarding something you don't like, or what you might want to offer, that goes to the front yard or the end of the driveway or down the block, because people watch their videos and they'll get upset if they see you say, oh, well, I like this, but I know we were pre-approved for 300, but I think we're going to offer 280. They're going to be like, excuse me? Or you say something like, oh, wow, that backsplash is really ugly, but we could change that. If you put in an offer, the listing agent, it's their job to present the offer as facts. They're not going to go into personal details. But people are their own detectives these days. They could figure out who the offer was from, and they could be like, wow, that person really rubbed me the wrong way. Or they're holding out on us. I know they're pre-approved for way more. So no, we're going to counter. We're just not going to accept it. That's insulting. So you have to be very careful, just, in people's homes. Know that people live there or they're monitoring. And it's a sense of pride for them, their home. They've taken a lot of time to make it their own. And it's important to respect that and go into it as a guest. So that's just a little bit on showing etiquette. Just be respectful. People are very proud of their homes. And if you want it to be your home someday and be proud of it, it's something to remember. Okay, so moving forward, you've seen the house, you love it, you want to buy it. What's next? Well, you tell your realtor how much money you want to offer, and with your pre-approval, how much money you can potentially offer, how much you're willing to put down as a down payment, when you would like to move in, any extra things you would like to ask for from the house, like maybe a basement refrigerator or the pool table or something like that, or something that you are willing to give up. So with a contract, you have to put down earnest money, which is basically a promise that you want to buy the house. And that's usually about 10% of the purchase price, right? Or less. So if you were buying a $500,000 house, I usually say put $5,000 down, but it can vary depending on the home and the situation. But the more money you put down as earnest money, the more it shows how motivated you are as a buyer. So another thing you want to think about after earnest money is if you want to give up anything else. So you can buy a house as is, which means that you're not going to ask the seller for any repairs, or you can say, you can waive a tax proration. There's lots of things that you can do to make your offer stronger, but the most important thing is that you let your realtor know what it is you want, what is absolutely necessary for you to have in this contract for when you buy the house, so that there's no surprises, because this is a very long contract and there's a lot of detail in it. So we can cover absolutely everything, and you should be able to get what you want if your offer is accepted. So once you have written your offer, your realtor has written your offer, We'll write up that offer and send it to the listing agent. And if the offer gets accepted, that's when the fun begins. Your realtor will then forward the accepted contract off to your lender and to your attorney, and then help you schedule an inspection within 5 days of the accepted contract. Your realtor is truly brokering the transaction. They're the go-between for all of the parties involved. That's why it's so important to have a realtor that you trust. So on to the inspection. John will get into more detail, but as far as the contract goes, it's important to get the inspection scheduled right away. The beginning of the home buying process is exciting and rush. And even if you're buying your home as is, which means you will not ask the seller to do any repairs, it is important to know what is going on in the home. So you need to have an inspection. It's basically, John will explain this. It's a laundry list of, everything, the bones of your home. And especially now with the lack of inventory, a lot of people are buying older homes, fixer-uppers, and buying them as is. So knowing, that you have old piping or the electric's not quite up to date, things like that, it's really good to know so you know which projects to start and when. But it's very important that you use a certified professional. Don't have your Uncle Joe who used to work in construction come and check it out, because he might not know everything that you need to know. You want somebody who can take a look at everything and makes your house function as a home must. All right, so let's turn to Jack. Did I call you John earlier?
Yes. All right, hi guys. So with a home inspection, the biggest thing to probably have set forth is expectations. With a home inspection, whether the house is 150,000 or $1 million, we're going to find things. There's going to be a laundry list of items. We're going through the house from top to bottom. Typically, you want to spend or delegate at least an hour to 2 hours for this inspection to be there. Much easier to hear it, to see it, to put your eyes on the issues versus just reading a report and then trying to decipher that report. So to have you there, have the realtor there, so everybody concerned can hear what is being said, what is going to be documented, and what is wrong with the home. That way, stress levels can be reduced. A lot of stress in this part of the process. Realtors are stressed, home buyers are stressed, and the home sellers are even more stressed. So with all that being said, we're going to document the house, and we're going to document it with a couple different ways. Visually, pictures. We use drones now. We use thermal imaging cameras, a ton of equipment, sewer scopes, all kinds of different types of equipment can be used through the home inspection process. With that being said, once the report is complete, typically the next day that report is sent out to the client and to the realtor. Everybody's still on the same page, reading the same information. It gets off to your lawyer, and that usually completes it. You're doing radon, it's a little bit longer 2-day test, but usually there's extensions for that and different things that can be done. Other than that, that's about it.
What are some of the most common things that come up in inspection?
Today, just about all. Like you said, there's older houses being sold, so our work has gotten a lot tougher, if you will. Where it's almost I don't want to say foreclosure market, but it is a tougher market. The houses are in tougher shape. Even the real expensive ones are getting fairly good lists today. Nobody really has to fix much to sell.
That's true.
I mean, they're just selling. Typically a few years ago, they put a couple thousand into the house. You would see some new things. Today, they don't have to. It's not needed.
That's true. Yeah.
To sell.
And houses are going like hotcakes.
Yes, they are. They're going very fast.
Now, just another question. When you're on an inspection, obviously I've seen quite a few of these reports where it's like highly recommended to fix now, this can wait, not too worried about it, but have to point it out. Is there something like you more commonly see in the or that you recommend people to fix sooner than later?
A lot of, almost every house I go into, the water heater's at life expectancy. Right? I mean, almost every one. And what kills a water heater the most is if you go from granny using it to a family of 4.
Yeah.
The water heater is going to go in a couple of weeks. It's just not going to take all the laundry, showers, the baths, that type of stuff. That's probably the most common. Then you're getting into GFIs and those things that don't work or that just don't exist. Then to the little more rugged stuff like mold in the attic, radon, those types of things.
Right.
So,
and those are important to know, because if you have even if you're buying the house as is, which is very common right now, if you go in and you see that like the air conditioner is at the end of its life, the water heater is at the end of its life, and your electric panel is ready to spark on fire, you have the opportunity to then walk away from that contract and find another house. I mean, just because you say you're buying a house as is doesn't mean that you have to accept everything about it. It just means that you're not going to ask the sellers to repair it. You're not going to ask them to put money in it. But if you're looking at $50,000 in extras that you weren't prepared for, then that's your opportunity to say, okay, the inspection brought up a lot. I need to talk to my attorney, and they need to talk to your attorney. And that is one of those opportunities where you can possibly change your mind or negotiate a little bit. And it's just good to know, because if you are prepared for that, or you're an investor who is ready to flip, you have your inspector come in, and then you have your laundry list of absolutely everything that you need to do in order to prepare that home for the next buyer. So that's, thank you very much. And I will never call you John again. I'm sorry, Jack.
It is Jack.
It is John?
Oh.
Okay, well, why do I have Jack in here and then I had John there? All right, now I'm confused.
better than Frank.
Yeah.
All right, Charles. Okay, well, my goodness, I don't know where I was going. All right, so your inspection is done. Your attorneys have worked out some of the kinks. Your loan is clear to close. Now what? Well, title is ordered, and title is your claim to the home upon closing. If you have a loan, you should get title insurance. There are some different types, and Haley will describe why it is so imperative that title insurance is part of the transaction.
Yeah, so we are the very end, the exciting part. You're about to actually get the house that you have been waiting for and have jumped through hoops to either fix or get to. So the most important thing I always tell everybody is title insurance is ordered by the seller side, but it's most important for the buyer. It's assuring that you are getting the title to that property. The deed is going into your name, free and clear of anything that has happened prior to you living there. So this type of insurance is different than all other insurance, where you are essentially paying for a policy to hand to a buyer. The seller is paying to hand you a policy saying, this is free, I've lived here this long, I've paid my debts, dues, whatever, to the property, and I can now give it to you free and clear. A lot of people don't understand title insurance, and essentially a couple of examples I always like to show is boyfriend and girlfriend move into a house, or boyfriend moves into girlfriend's house. X years later, girlfriend wants to sell this property, but the boyfriend has lived there, or maybe they got married now and now they're husband and wife. That she now wants to sell the property. He has to sign off on it because he's lived there for however long it's homestead. He has the right. He has some type of say because he's lived there. So things of that sort, making sure that the right people are signing over the property to you, so that the girlfriend doesn't sign a house and or they are breaking up and she sells the house and says, well, I've lived here for this long, I still want this house. It gives you the right to pass off that property free and clear. Another one I always like to talk about too is you had work done on the house and you got into a disagreement with the contractor, and you didn't pay all the money that was owed in your contract with said contractor, that contractor can lien your property, and has a certain amount of time to do so legally. So if you're going through the selling process and they haven't yet liened your property, and you just about sell it and then they put a lien on your property, technically they can go to the buyer and say, hey, there's a lien on this property. I owed X dollars for fixing this roof and it wasn't given to me. The reason you have title insurance is, well, we'll do a search in between the date of when it was filed and when you purchased the house. And we can say, oh, this is a title claim. We will take this on due to that time lapse, so that the buyer doesn't have to take on that anywhere from, you know, a couple $1,000 to hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's extremely important to just make sure that you're not going into anything unknown. So outside of doing the title search and making sure the property is all yours, we also take in the funds as a third party. We have no beneficial interest to anything, but to make sure that the property is free and clear, and we give the money to the correct people. So we take in the money from your lender and make sure you have this property free and clear. We make sure that the seller gets whatever proceeds they're owed. The realtors get their money, everything. So we're kind of that third party to make sure everything is safe in a transaction.
Very important part of the transaction. So once your title is clear and your underwriting is done, you've got your clear closing, you're good to close. So what happens is a closing is scheduled and your realtor will take you through a final walkthrough of your future home. You'll make sure that nothing is damaged and things are as you expected, that, you know, a bunch of furniture isn't left behind or garbage, or they didn't, you know, steal the kitchen cabinets or something like that. You never know. So you just want to make sure that it was the home that you thought you were buying. Don't expect the home to be spotless. Room clean is usually the expectation, but a lot of sellers will go above and beyond for buyers and just make sure that the house is move-in ready. One thing you might want to request for your realtor to request of the listing agent is to have all, which should be left anyway, but to have all manuals or service dates of any major appliances left in the home. Most people do hold on to that in the junk drawer somewhere. So, you know, just have them put it in a folder and save it for you, because you'll want to know, if possible, when the last time maybe the air conditioner was serviced or when the water softener was installed, things like that. So after walkthrough, you're off to closing, where you sign your life away and get a key. I mean, it's funny, but it really is one of the biggest, most exciting, most terrifying things, most purchases that you will ever make in your entire life. So this is why it's just so important to have the right team of people surrounding you when you make this decision, because you want to have people that you trust who are leading you in the right direction and have your best interest in mind once you've decided that you do want a piece of that American dream and you found the home that will do that for you. So a little earlier, but we have so many amazing credentialed and certified people here at Heartland who would love to help you if buying a home is your dream. So we are a good resource for you if you have any questions or just want more information. I'd like to thank.
Well, that's questions.
But yeah. Okay.
So of the lender.
Yes.
So Christine, what's the down payment that people need to put down to purchase a home?
They can do as low as 3% down based on income limits, and for conventional, and as little as 3.5% for FHA.
What would be the difference between those two to a buyer?
Personally, you're going to want to try and go conventional. The difference is FHA allows broader guidelines for qualifying when credit is tough, or there's debt to income ratios that they're struggling with, or maybe they don't have a complete 2-year history of income. FHA has some gray areas, but their mortgage insurance is a little higher. And you have to have it, you actually have to refinance that loan to remove that FHA mortgage insurance. If you can get into a conventional loan, the mortgage insurance that you pay for having less than 20% down can be removed within 2 years and 20% equity without having to refinance. So that's a plus right there. But again, there's going to be stricter guidelines on conventional loans than FHA and higher credit scores required.
What's the process time, Jen, from start of the process to closing on a home?
Well, I mean, it depends how long it takes you to find the home you want, but generally, once you put in that offer and it's been accepted, it can be as little as 30 days for a loan. Usually it can be closer to 45 just in case there's a hiccup. But if it's cash, you can close that week. The sellers are willing to go.
We don't like cash.
I'm sure you don't. If anybody online actually has questions too, you can type them in the chat as well. Just want to put that out there.
So John, how long did you say it takes for a home inspection typically?
Up to about a 3,000 square foot house, about an hour and a half. And that's with 2 people. Our company brings 2 people on site at every house. So about an hour and a half to 2 hours, I would say.
And again, what are you looking at in the home?
Well, pretty much everything, but it's a general snapshot of the house's condition at the time of inspection. House is living and breathing, it's changing every day. We could go back in a week and probably find different things. But generally speaking, we're going through the house top to bottom, attic to plumbing, and documenting that entire process.
And you don't actually need to be there for your home inspection. It's recommended so that you can get an idea of what's going on, but your realtor does need to be there because, as previously mentioned, it is somebody else's house. So the care of that house is in our hands. We're very trusted with it. So whether it's home inspection or a virtual showing or something like that, your realtor will always be there. If you can't spend the hour and a half to do your home inspection because you're at work, that's when we show up.
So John, how do you be qualified to be a home inspector? What does that take?
Well, it's different since I've gone through it. I went through about in 04. Now you have to get licensed, and then you have to qualify or get qualified by doing inspections with almost like a ride along for like up to 10, I believe it is, to actually get certified now. So a little bit higher qualifications today than it used to be.
And what license is that?
That's for the home inspection license. And there's a radon license. You have to be separately licensed for that. To fly a drone commercially, you have to be separately licensed for that through the FAA as well. So those are all separate licenses that have to be obtained.
And it's probably good to get the drone license so you don't have to climb up on the roof.
Very much so. But that's all.
I have a question for John.
The pilot's license to fly.
We have a question.
Okay, for the home inspector, is it still a requirement that you attend ASHE school to get your license? Or can you go to other inspection schools?
A lot of people are ASHE, I'm NACHI.
What are the differences and what are they?
There's not much differences. They kind of copy each other. It's just another, really, it's not needed here in Illinois because we're state licensed. So we're state licensed and we go above and beyond with ASHE and NACHI rules, and we go above and beyond what the standards are in our testing or in our inspection process.
No, I was around when the license was wrote for inspectors in the state of Illinois. And at that time, you had to attend ASHE. But now I see that from what you're saying, that's not one of the requirements that you attend specifically ASHE, that you can attend other schools and still get your license.
Correct. You have to go to a school that's certified through the state of Illinois.
Yeah,
So
okay, that's good. That's good. I mean, that's better for the industry. You know, I
Yes.
was not crazy at the time when the licensing act first came in for home inspectors that you had to attend just the school that they said. But now that you're saying that just so the school is licensed by the state of Illinois, that I feel better about that.
Yeah, I mean, I started when licensing was just breaking through. So I started this process when I didn't have to be licensed and then had to be licensed. So it was literally right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of this.
So Haley, can you tell us a little bit about the relationship between attorneys and title companies?
Yeah, absolutely. So most attorneys have some type of relationship with a title company to be a title agent of theirs. This is allowing an attorney to make money with a title company by taking on, first and foremost, some of the liability from us, as well as doing a title search and exam at the same time. So a lot of attorneys will have some type of affiliation with whether it's Chicago Title, First American, any of the title companies, to really take on liability and extra service essentially for their client to make sure they know exactly what's going on with the property. An attorney will be told before we will if a lien was maybe put on that, so they can help us go through our exam and our search that we get back from the county to verify who owns the property and whatnot. So attorneys help with that liability portion of title insurance.
Thank you. We're adding your contact information to the chat box for the attendees to be able to see that information, but can you just go through and say who each of you are?
Okay, I'm Jen Long and I'm a realtor with Gemstone Realty.
Christine Tonkin, and I'm a loan officer with US Bank.
I am Haley Hoffman and I'm with Chicago Title.
John Frazick, I'm with Wynn Home Inspection.
You guys are just too brief. So Jen, what areas do you work?
Oh, I am licensed in both Illinois and Wisconsin, and I can tell you I have worked all over Illinois. I've sold homes from Bloomington, Illinois, all the way up, through Wisconsin. So everywhere.
Do you have a specialty?
I specialize in residential, but I've done commercial, and I also have a second home and property specialist designation. So if you're looking to buy a resort property, I'm your gal.
And Christine, what about you? What areas do you work?
Well, I actually house out of the US Bank branch in Crystal Lake, but US Bank's able to do loans in all 50 states. So if someone's moving out of state, we can actually help them with their transfer and do those loans as well. So
Do you have a specialty or a niche or?
I've been doing this 35 years. If I don't know, no one does. So actually US Bank is the servicer of the IDA program. So we are a large IDA lender. And other than that, big construction to perm, which is a whole
What is
nother,
IDA?
yeah, big construction to perm, but that's a whole other.
What is IDA? People don't know.
IDA is the Illinois Department of Housing Authority's down payment assistance program. So when I touched on down payment assistance earlier, it enables you to get, right now they have 3 active programs that can get you $6,000, $7,500, or $10,000 to help with your down payment on the house as well as closing costs. You have to be in a certain income bracket and you can't be over that 323, 325 purchase price. And you don't have to be a first-time home buyer anymore, which is new. You can actually be a move-up buyer, but your household income cannot exceed $111,840. So as long as you fall within those guidelines and your credit score is 640 or higher, you would qualify for one of those programs. The $10,000 is repaid, so that goes on a payment plan as a silent second. And the other two options are forgiven after a certain number of years, as long as you've been in the home. And that's, I would say, 95% of the people go with the forgiven.
Right, but if you buy your house and then try to rent it out or sell it, then you have to pay that back.
No, I mean, if you leave, right, if you were gonna sell the property, technically, there is a lien on title that would have to be cleared up when you sold it, so it would be, it's over 5 years, if you took 6,000, it so much a month, depending on how much you have left. It really doesn't, we've been refinancing a lot of people who still owe some IDA, and it just still makes sense to do it. Yeah, it's not a.
So
It's
that's
a good way
down,
of getting the money and getting in the house.
that's free money basically to down
It is free
payment.
money, basically, yes. And now that it's open to move up buyers and people have owned a home before, it widens who can use it.
Is there money available?
Yes, there is. Yes.
All right, Haley, how about you? So what company are you with again, and what areas do you
Yeah,
service?
so Chicago Title, I've been with the company for 5 years. I have the Rolling Meadows, Lake Zurich, Crystal Lake, Park Ridge, Elgin. I think that's it, offices, so all those offices and then the surrounding towns of them. So I kind of ride up and down the 90 corridor for the most part.
But Chicago Title services what areas?
Yeah, so Chicago Title is nationwide. We are everywhere, which is a lot of the reason people choose to use Chicago Title. If you are leaving out of the state, or if you have an investment property and you're not here to sign in one of our physical locations, which are all over the metro area, and we are expanding out to Rockford as well. Yeah, we're working on that. We just found an employee, now we gotta find a space, so we'll have a Rockford office soon. But if you're not local here, you can always sign in one of our offices as well, so that kind of helps people all across the country. We are the biggest here in the Chicago metro area.
And title insurance rates, so you shop around to find the best rate, or how does that work?
So all of us are very, very close. We all issue a rate card. We price by price points or purchase price of a home. They're all very similar, within $100 here or there of each other. Some people will have a higher owner's policy, but you'll get charged more for their endorsements and vice versa. So we're all very, very similar. It's very competitive. It is all rate card standard pricing.
Thank you. And John, how about you? What areas do you work?
All of them.
What company again? Tell us your company again.
All right, John with Win Home Inspection, national franchise, over 200 inspectors nationally. I've owned Chicago area since '04. Service from basically Bloomfield, Naperville area, all the way up north. Our services include, not only home inspections, but radon testing, sewer scope, drone service for the larger roofs, and roof inspections that just can't be reached. As far as rates go, our rates, like insurance rates, we're all pretty close. Our rates are based on size and age and where the house is located.
And you do residential, commercial, everything?
Residential, commercial, light commercial, yeah, for sure.
Very good. Are there any more questions in the box?
Okay, well, I just want to thank everybody for their time and for listening this evening. If you have any other questions, we're going to post the recording online, or you can, call or email Heartland and ask them, and somebody will get back to you. And I just want to thank our speakers again, Christine, Haley, and John. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you all on March 3rd for our final presentation, where we will have attorneys speaking about more of the seller side, and diving into a little bit about the different types of sales that exist and, you know, what their role is within that. So join us on March 3rd, and thank you again.
Thanks.